Let me tell you something. The world don't care how you feel. Life don't care that you're tired. The mission didn't change because your emotions flared up. The battlefield didn't pause because your heart got heavy. Listen to me. You got one shot to show this world what kind of man you are. So man up. Stop letting every little thing knock you off your post. Stop giving your power away to people who don't even know your name. You out here folding over comments, gossip, silence, rejection. Come on, man. That ain't how warriors walk. That ain't how kings carry themselves. You were never meant to be led by your emotions. You were meant to govern them. You feel too much and it's costing you everything. You feel doubt. You stop. You feel fear. You freeze. You feel misunderstood. You retreat. What if I told you those feelings are just smoke and the fire of purpose is still burning underneath? You don't feel your way to greatness. You build your way there, one brick, one step, one decision at a time, even when your emotions are screaming at you to quit. See, real strength is stillness. When everything is shaking, it's being so grounded in purpose that your heart can break, but your hands keep building. That's what it means to man up. You don't run when it hurts. You rise. You don't need closure. You choose clarity. You don't wait to be rescued. You remember who you are and rescue yourself. Some of you, you're attached to chaos because it's familiar. You're holding on to people who've already let go of you. You're carrying guilt that God already forgave. Let it go. You cannot step into power while still being chained to pain. You can't carry your cross and your comfort. You got to choose. Man up means you stop answering every emotional invitation. Man up means you walk away, not because you're weak, but because you finally realize you're worthy. You walk away because begging don't fit your purpose. You walk away because trying to prove your worth to people who ain't even looking is draining the very energy you need to win. You were never designed to be led by your wounds. You were designed to be led by wisdom. Let me say it again. Your wounds scream, but wisdom whispers. And the man who can quiet his soul enough to hear that whisper, that's the man who changes legacies. Man up means dominion, not just discipline. It means you don't let your thoughts run wild. You command them. You don't let the situation define your state. You set the tone. You don't cry for attention. You command respect through consistency, through integrity, through silence, through results. Let them doubt you. Let them walk away. Let the doors close. Because while they're watching your reaction, you're walking in revelation. You ain't moved. You're maturing. You ain't petty. You're focused. You ain't stuck. You're strategizing. That's what detachment looks like. It's not cold. It's calculated. It's not passive. It's powerful. It's not apathy. It's alignment. Some of y'all need to stop feeling your calling and start fighting for it. Get back in the arena. Get back to the grind. Get back to the vision. Let the tears fall, but don't stop moving. Let the betrayal stand, but don't drop the ball. Let the delay happen, but don't you dare doubt. You don't win because it's easy. You win because you decided not to be moved. You want to know who wins in this life. The man who can be rejected and still remain rooted. The man who can be disappointed and still disciplined. The man who can feel pain, but still stay in position. That's the man God trusts. That's the man the world watches. That's the man who leaves legacy. So no more running, no more blaming, no more spiraling every time something don't go your way. From this moment forward, you don't break, you build. You don't chase, you create. You don't prove, you produce. This is your moment to rise in silence. This is your moment to let go and level up. This is your moment to stop feeling sorry and start feeling sacred. Man up and walk like the kingdom was placed on your shoulders, because in truth, it was. Detachment is not weakness. It's mastery. Most people hear the word detachment and think it means giving up, becoming cold, emotionless, disconnected, like some kind of escape. But real detachment is not about escaping life. It's about owning it. It's not about feeling less. It's about responding better. When you reach the level where you're no longer owned by what happens around you, when your identity, peace, and momentum are no longer tied to outcomes, that's not weakness. That's power on another level. Weakness is needing everything to go your way in order to stay focused. Weakness is being so tied to the outcome that when something doesn't work out, you fall apart. See, when you're still at the stage where every delay shakes you, every loss defines you, and every insult derails you, that's emotional slavery. You're not in charge. Your circumstances are, but when you detach, you're not walking away from responsibility. You're walking into a deeper level of self-control. You're saying, I can show up fully, give my all, pour everything into this, and still not be destroyed if it doesn't go how I thought. That's not quitting. That's owning who you are apart from the result. There's a reason why the most focused, effective, resilient people in the world don't seem easily moved. It's not because they don't care. It's because they've mastered the art of staying rooted in purpose, not emotion. When you're detached, it doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop clinging. It means your sense of self is not tied to validation. It means your value isn't based on being accepted. You love, you serve, you commit, but you do it from overflow, not from lack. You don't give hoping to be seen. You give because you've already seen who you are. People who haven't mastered detachment are constantly shaken. One setback, one argument, one no, one door closed, and they lose themselves. But the man who detaches has already decided whether they show up or not, I'm still working. Whether they support me or not, I'm still standing. Whether I feel appreciated or not, I'm still focused. That's the kind of power that can't be manipulated. That's the kind of strength you can't fake, because you don't need permission to move. You don't need applause to believe. You've learned how to show up without needing a spotlight. When you stop needing outcomes to validate your identity, you become dangerous to every lie that ever tried to keep you small. You stop reacting and you start responding. You stop chasing peace and you start being peace. You stop looking for proof and you start living with power. That's mastery. That's what detachment really is. Not weakness, but the highest form of strength. Your emotions don't leave. Your purpose does. That's the difference between being a man and being moved by the moment. Emotions come and go. One minute you're up, the next you're doubting everything. One day you feel powerful, the next day you feel like giving up. If you let those shifting emotions sit in the driver's seat, your life will look like a broken GPS. Always rerouting, always off course, never arriving. Purpose is steady. Purpose is rooted. It doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on what you were born to do. Too many people live their lives being driven by temporary emotion instead of eternal assignment. You feel tired, so you stop. You feel discouraged, so you disconnect. You feel overlooked, so you retreat. But here's the truth. Your feelings might be real, but they're not always right. You can feel fear and still have favor. You can feel rejection and still be chosen. You can feel empty and still be anointed to fill others. So stop treating feelings like facts. Stop allowing how you feel to tell you what you're worth. Your emotions are meant to inform you, not instruct you. They can be signals, but they should never be the system you follow. The man who builds his life on emotion is like a house built on sand. Looks good until the storm comes. But the man who builds on purpose, storms don't move him. Delays don't shake him. Because he's not following a feeling. He's following a calling. Purpose don't ask you how you feel when it wakes you up at 5 a.m. Purpose don't care. If you're scared when you stand in front of the vision you prayed for. Purpose says, let's go. Even when your body says, I can't. That's what separates leaders from followers, warriors from warriors, men who show up from men who shut down. And don't confuse this with ignoring your emotions. That's not what this is. You honor your emotions, but you don't bow to them. You feel the pain, but you still press. You acknowledge the fear, but you don't freeze. You process disappointment, but you don't become it. You learn to say, yeah, I feel this, but it doesn't get to lead me today. Because your vision is too valuable, your purpose too heavy, and your calling too divine to be led by something so unstable. This is where true discipline kicks in. Discipline isn't just doing what you don't want to do. It's doing what needs to be done no matter how you feel about it. That's what manhood is. That's what mission looks like. You walk when you rather lay down. You speak when you rather stay silent. You build when you rather break. Because purpose leads. When your purpose takes the lead, you become unshakable. You start moving from your identity, not your insecurity. You act based on destiny, not desperation. And that's where the breakthrough happens. When your life becomes less about what you feel and more about who you're called to be. You don't rise by reacting. You rise by ruling over reaction. Every time you let someone's words dictate your mood, you hand them the keys to your kingdom. Every time you let a situation provoke you to anger, to doubt, to fear, you shrink your power. Life is going to test you again and again. But the test isn't about the situation. It's about your response. The man who reacts is owned by his environment. The man who rules his reaction owns himself. See, when you react without restraint, you're not in control. You're just a puppet on the strings or whatever or whoever knows how to push your buttons. But when you pause, when you breathe, when you choose your response instead of giving one away, that's where kings are made. That's where men of purpose separate themselves from boys who just perform. Reaction is automatic. Rulership is intentional. And every great leader, every man of power, every warrior of purpose, you'll find him in that space between stimulus and response. That's the throne room. That's where power lives. Some of y'all are losing energy, not because life is too heavy, but because you're leaking it through your reactions. You're burning strength on things that don't deserve your fire. You're explaining yourself to people who've already made up their mind. You're getting emotional over opinions that don't pay your bills and don't build your purpose. Every time you react to disrespect, you lower your frequency. Every time you clap back at ignorance, you step down from your throne to argue with fools. And here's the thing. Kings don't explain. Kings exemplify. They live at a level where their silence is louder than your noise. To rise, you got to stop answering every invitation to distraction. You got to stop taking things personal that are spiritual. Sometimes the test isn't the situation, it's what the situation reveals about you. You thought you were strong until they lied on you. You thought you were focused until they overlooked you. You thought you were healed until they brought up your past. But listen, none of that determines your worth. What determines your worth is your ability to rule your emotions in the midst of the heat. There's power in restraint. There's power in not swinging back. There's power in staying composed when everything around you is losing its mind. That's what it means to rule. That's what it means to lead. That's what it means to rise. You don't level up by reacting to every little thing. You level up by choosing what's worth your energy, your time, your breath. And the moment you decide, I will not be moved by this, you elevate. The moment you say, I rule my response, you shift the atmosphere. That's where elevation begins. Not when everything goes your way, but when you stay in control, when it doesn't. Reaction is natural. Rulership is divine. And when you step into that kind of power, nothing outside you can pull you down. Letting go is not giving up. It's gearing up. There comes a point in every man's life where holding on costs more than releasing. You keep trying to carry things that were never meant to go the distance with you. People, habits, memories, mindsets. And the truth is, what you're holding on to isn't making you stronger. It's making you stuck. You think letting go is weakness, like you're quitting. But in reality, letting go is one of the most powerful decisions you'll ever make, because it means you're no longer fighting to preserve your comfort. You're fighting to pursue your calling. Sometimes you're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're dragging dead weight. You're dragging relationships that drain you, narratives that haunt you, decisions that shame you. And it's not that you can't move forward. It's that you won't let go of what's behind you. But hear this, you will never walk in full strength carrying yesterday's version of yourself. You can't climb and cling at the same time. You got to choose. Letting go is not giving up on people. It's giving in to purpose. You've been trying to fix everything, hold it all together, prove your worth to those who can't even see it. But sometimes elevation requires separation, not because you hate them, but because you love what you're becoming more than who you used to be. You stop negotiating your peace to keep toxic patterns alive. You stop shrinking your voice to make others comfortable. You stop carrying burdens that God never asked you to lift. That's not giving up. That's growing up. And here's the truth. The longer you hold on to what's broken, the harder it becomes to build what's next. You can't grab the new if your hands are still full of the old. You can't move in clarity when your mind is clouded by confusion. Letting go doesn't mean the pain didn't matter. It means it doesn't master you anymore. It means the lesson remains. But the weight does not. You got to shift your mindset from survival to strategy. You didn't come this far just to maintain broken cycles. You didn't fight through hell just to stay connected to what drains you. You let go because you finally see yourself differently. You finally value your energy. You finally recognize that your future is too valuable to keep paying rent to your past. And when you do that, when you release what no longer serves your mission, you free yourself to run, not crawl. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of movement, the beginning of momentum, the beginning of mastery. It's how you prepare for what's coming. You gear up by getting light. You gear up by shedding shame. You gear up by choosing growth over guilt. Because when you let go, you don't lose power. You unlock it. And that kind of freedom, that's when everything changes. The man who can walk away is stronger than the man who needs to stay. It takes real strength to detach when your soul wants to hold on. It takes maturity to say, I love you, but I love myself enough to let go. A lot of people think staying is always the brave thing, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes staying is the easy route, the path of least resistance. It's familiar. It's safe. It's predictable. But walking away, that takes courage. Walking away means you're strong enough to break your own heart, to protect your purpose. Anybody can stay in a cycle. Anybody can keep repeating the same story, holding on to the same people, tolerating the same disrespect, hoping for a different outcome. That doesn't make you strong. That makes you stuck. But when you've done all you can do, when you've prayed, fought, forgiven, and still the energy around you is pulling you backward, it takes a man of vision to say enough, not out of bitterness, but out of boldness. Because a man on a mission understands not everything that comes with you is meant to go with you. It's easy to confuse loyalty with bondage. Just because you've known them a long time doesn't mean they belong in your next season. Just because you gave them your history doesn't mean they have a right to your destiny. Loyalty without alignment is a slow death. Staying in something just because you're afraid to be alone is not strength. That's fear. And fear cannot build a future. Fear will have you settling for less when you were born to lead. Fear will convince you that you're losing something when in truth, you're making room for something greater. When a man learns to walk away with grace, he becomes dangerous because now he's not emotionally entangled. He's not controlled by attachment. He's not manipulated by guilt. He's clear. He's focused. He's walking in identity, not insecurity. And the world can't shake a man who's no longer afraid to be misunderstood. The moment you stop begging to stay in places that no longer see your value, you step into a higher version of yourself. That's where the real power is. You don't walk away because you're cold-hearted. You walk away because you've finally grown wise. You've learned that peace is worth more than presence. That proximity doesn't equal purpose. That just because something felt right once doesn't mean it's still right now. You've learned to measure fruit, not feelings. To move with vision, not emotion. And when you do that, you rise. So don't let anybody guilt you for leaving what no longer honors your growth. Don't apologize for choosing your purpose over your past. The man who can walk away, he's not abandoning responsibility. He's embracing reality. He's no longer bound by the need to be needed. He's walking in authority, in clarity, in freedom. And that's a man no one can control. You were not created to be emotionally hijacked. You were created to walk in dominion. Every time you lose control, every time you explode in anger, every time your peace gets snatched because of what somebody said or did, you're operating beneath your design. You weren't built to be ruled by mood swings or triggers. You weren't crafted to be tossed around by emotions like a leaf in the wind. You were made in the image of power, order, and intentionality. And if you don't learn how to rule over your inner world, the outer world will always rule you. You can't lead if you're constantly reacting. You can't build if you're always breaking down. The moment your emotions run the show, your purpose takes a back seat. The moment your feelings become your compass, you drift off course. Dominion doesn't mean you don't feel. Dominion means you feel deeply, but you respond wisely. It means you acknowledge pain without becoming pain. You witness offense without becoming offended. Dominion is not about suppressing emotions. It's about stewarding them. Most men were never taught how to process emotions with strength. They were either taught to suppress everything or let everything explode. But real power is found in regulation. When you master your emotional responses, you become unstoppable. Not because you're numb, but because you're rooted. You know who you are, and no external chaos can shake that. You might get hit, but you don't lose your stance. You might be disappointed, but you don't get distracted. Because you've trained your soul to be led by truth, not turbulence. This world is full of emotional traps, offense, pride, ego, comparison, all designed to pull you out of position. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can just keep you reacting. Because as long as you're reacting, you're not creating. As long as you're offended, you're not focused. As long as you're driven by emotion, you're being used instead of being used by God. You were meant to govern your mind, your heart, your mouth. Dominion begins inside. That's why discipline is spiritual. That's why restraint is power. That's why the man who can hold his tongue is stronger than the man who can throw a punch. The man who refuses to let offense enter his spirit is greater than the one who wins every argument. That's a higher level of living. Walking in dominion means you don't give people power they didn't earn. It means you no longer allow your identity to be shaped by broken voices or unstable emotions. You operate from a place of divine stability, unmoved, unbothered, and unbreakable. People can lie on you, leave you, overlook you, and you still rise because your value isn't anchored in their validation and your vision isn't tied to their opinion. You weren't born to be emotionally hijacked. You were born to command the atmosphere, to shift rooms by presence, not pressure, to live with intention, not impulse, to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You don't reflect chaos. You correct it. That's dominion. That's maturity. That's manhood. Attachment to pain is the enemy of power. The longer you hold on to the wound, the more it weakens you. It's not the pain itself that steals your strength. It's your refusal to release it. You think you're protecting yourself by holding on to what hurts you, but really you're just keeping yourself imprisoned by the past. Pain has a purpose when it's processed, but when it becomes your identity, it becomes your limitation. And the truth is, some of us aren't being held back by the enemy. We're being held back by our own unwillingness to let go of what broke us. You can't walk in authority if you're still rehearsing the betrayal. You can't lead a new season while nursing old wounds. Yes, they hurt you. Yes, it wasn't fair. Yes, you didn't deserve it. But if you stay attached to that narrative, you'll live stuck in a moment that's already over. And power doesn't live in the past. Power lives in the now. Power lives in the decision to rise, to forgive, to learn, to grow, to transform the pain into purpose. Pain is a teacher, not a roommate. You weren't meant to live with it forever. It's there to sharpen you, not define you. When you keep reliving what happened, when you keep replaying who left, who lied, who didn't show up, you drain your strength because you're feeding what was instead of fighting for what could be. Your power doesn't flow through your wounds. It flows through your willingness to heal. And healing starts when you stop identifying with the pain and start identifying with the promise. You can't carry both pain and power into your future. One of them has to stay behind. Pain will tell you you're not enough. Pain will whisper lies like you'll always be broken or they were right about you, but power speaks a different language. Power says what happened to me is not greater than what's happening in me. Power says I'm not what I lost, I'm what I've become. You don't tap into that kind of strength by clinging to your scars. You tap into it by releasing the story that says you're a victim and embracing the truth that says you're victorious. There's a reason why healing feels hard. It's spiritual warfare. Because the moment you break your attachment to pain, you stop playing small. You stop needing sympathy and start moving in strategy. You stop making excuses and start walking in execution. And that shift is dangerous to every lie that tried to keep you weak, every system that tried to keep you silent, every voice that told you you'd never rise again. So no, letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. It means it doesn't get to master you. It means you're done giving yesterday authority over today. It means you finally realize that your destiny demands wholeness, not woundedness. Pain may have shaped you, but it doesn't get to steer you. Not anymore. You're walking in power now. Not because you forgot the pain, but because you've outgrown your attachment to it. Spiritual strength is silence in the storm. Anybody can talk loud when things are going well. Anybody can post, shout, flex, and act confident when there's no resistance. But real strength, spiritual strength, shows up when everything around you is shaking and you're still grounded. It shows up when the noise is deafening and you choose not to panic. It shows up when the pressure is building and instead of reacting, you listen, you lean in, you wait. Because silence in the storm isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It means you're not led by chaos, you're led by conviction. See, storms come to everyone. Pressure is not personal, it's preparation. But most people don't understand that the way you carry yourself in a storm reveals more about your maturity than anything you say when the sun is shining. Real warriors don't panic under pressure. They pause, they pray, they discern, because they know storms don't just test your circumstances, they test your center. Where are you rooted? Who do you trust when everything seems unstable? If your peace can be stolen by circumstances, you never had peace. You had convenience. Silence doesn't mean you're doing nothing. Silence is often the loudest proof of strength. It means you mastered your urge to explain, to defend, to lash out. It means you trust that truth will speak for itself. That time will reveal what noise tries to hide. It means you don't need to shout to be secure. That your posture is anchored in something deeper than public approval. Spiritual strength is knowing that God's hand on your life is louder than any lie against you. We live in a world that celebrates fast reactions, instant responses, and emotional outbursts. But there's a higher frequency, a kingdom mindset that says, be still and know, be still and discern, be still and build. Because while others are panicking, you're planning. While others are reacting, you're rising. While others are scrambling, you're strategizing. That kind of stillness is rare, but it's powerful. It's what separates noisemakers from atmosphere shifters. Anybody can make noise. Only a few can move in silent authority. Spiritual strength is also restraint. Just because you could clap back doesn't mean you should. Just because you have the words doesn't mean you speak them. There's strength in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to fight and when to hold your peace. Silence is not passivity. It's preparation. It's the calm before breakthrough, the pause before the pivot. It's the moment where heaven backs you, not because you did the loudest thing, but because you did the right thing. When you carry spiritual strength, your silence isn't empty, it's full of discipline, full of discernment, full of divine power. The storm doesn't intimidate you anymore because you know who commands the wind. And when you know who you are and whose you are, you don't need to raise your voice. Your presence becomes your power. You become the stillness in the storm. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you already know you've already won. If your peace costs you your purpose, it's too expensive. Some of you are paying way too much just to keep the peace, biting your tongue when you should be speaking truth, shrinking your presence so others feel comfortable, compromising your standards so you don't rock the boat. But peace that comes at the cost of your purpose isn't peace at all. It's spiritual poverty. It's counterfeit calm. Real peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the presence of clarity. It's knowing who you are, what you were created for, and refusing to settle for anything less, even if it causes disruption. Too many people sacrifice their assignment just to avoid friction. You stay in environments that drain you, relationships that belittle you, mindsets that cage you, all because you don't want to offend anyone or make a scene. But what's the point of having peace if it keeps you bound? What's the use of keeping everyone happy if you're miserable in your soul? That's not peace. That's bondage dressed in politeness. And your calling is too sacred to be silenced by other people's comfort zones. Sometimes walking in purpose means disrupting false peace. It means saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It means drawing boundaries that people don't like. It means choosing the higher road even when it leads away from what's familiar. You were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be authentic. And authenticity will always challenge anything built on pretense. When you stand in your truth, when you move in your calling, when you speak with conviction, yes, people may walk away. Yes, the atmosphere might get uncomfortable, but don't confuse tension with trouble. Sometimes the tension is the evidence that you're finally aligned. If you constantly trade your voice for harmony, you'll never hear the sound of destiny, because purpose isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it costs you relationships. Sometimes it costs you comfort. But the peace that comes from knowing you're in divine alignment, that kind of peace no one can take. That kind of peace guards your mind when criticism comes. That kind of peace keeps you grounded when storms rise, because it's rooted in truth, not in performance. You got to stop letting people manipulate you with guilt just because you chose to grow. You got to stop negotiating your future so you can maintain fake harmony. Peace is powerful, but not when it's purchased by sacrificing who you're becoming. Protecting your peace is not about avoiding challenge. It's about preserving your clarity, your purpose, your power. When it's real peace, it won't ask you to betray yourself. It won't silence your vision. It won't dim your light. So if it costs you your purpose, your passion, your progress, it's too expensive. Let it go. Because true peace isn't passive. It's a product of alignment. And the moment you choose purpose over comfort, you'll realize peace isn't found in avoiding problems. It's found in fulfilling your calling. A man on a mission can't be moved by momentary emotions. When you're locked in on purpose, when you tasted the fire of calling, you don't have time to be led by every high or low that comes your way. You're not fragile. You're not easily swayed. Your life isn't governed by the weather of your feelings. It's anchored in the climate of your conviction. Emotions will rise and fall, but a man with vision knows how to stand firm. He's rooted, he's grounded, he's immovable because he understands what's at stake. If you let your emotions take the wheel, you'll drive in circles. One minute you're fired up, the next you're full of doubt. One day you're motivated, the next you're making excuses. That's not mission, that's emotional addiction. And purpose doesn't wait for you to feel like it. It requires consistency in the midst of inconsistency. Discipline when you're drained. Focus when you're frustrated. The mission doesn't care about your mood. The mission is waiting on your maturity. You have to understand, emotions are real, but they're not always true. You might feel like you're not enough, but that doesn't mean you aren't chosen. You might feel like quitting, but that doesn't mean the assignment has ended. You might feel unappreciated, overlooked, misunderstood. But your purpose was never built on applause. It was built in the silence, in the secret place where obedience mattered more than recognition. And a man on a mission knows how to keep building even when nobody's watching. He's not driven by hype. He's driven by heaven. This world will constantly pull at your emotions, distractions, drama, doubt. They'll all knock on your door. But when you're mission-minded, you don't answer every knock. You don't stop to explain yourself every time someone questions your path. You don't engage in battles that don't serve your vision. You conserve your energy for the real fight, the one inside you, the one calling you to rise, to endure, to keep moving when everything in you wants to shut down. Being on a mission means you've already decided. You've already counted the costs. You've already made peace with the pain. So you don't need to renegotiate your commitment every time it gets hard. You wake up and you move. You get hit and you still move. You feel low and you still move, because movement is not based on how you feel. It's based on who you are. And the man who learns to honor his assignment over his emotions, that's the man who becomes unshakable. That's the man who builds legacy. That's the man who can be trusted with more because he's no longer enslaved by less. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a made up mind. You don't need constant motivation. You need unshakable vision. You don't need every day to feel good. You need every day to be aligned. So when the emotions come, and they will let them come, but don't let them lead. Let purpose lead. Let the mission lead. And if you stay rooted in that, you'll rise no matter what, every time. So now the question is, what kind of man are you going to be? Are you going to keep folding under pressure, reacting to every storm, clinging to what's killing your growth, letting emotions write your story? Or are you finally ready to rise with power, walk with purpose, and lead from a place of divine strength? You weren't built to blend in. You weren't created to stay stuck in cycles of emotional chaos, spiritual confusion, or weak attachments. You were forged for something greater. You were called to lead, not just others, but yourself. To master the battlefield within so you can conquer the world around you. It's time to man up. That doesn't mean harden your heart. It means strengthen your spirit. It means choosing clarity over confusion, discipline over dysfunction, calling over comfort. It means showing up every day, not as a victim of your circumstances, but as a vessel of purpose, a man with vision, a man with fire. From this day forward, you don't shrink. You don't wait for validation. You don't flinch when it gets tough. You decide, you build, you become. Because the world doesn't need more men who can talk tough. The world needs men who can stand still in storms, who can walk away in wisdom, who can lead themselves before they ever try to lead anyone else. You are that man. Now man up and move like it. Tools.